It is my pleasure to introduce you to Day 2's panel discussion, touching upon a very interesting topic. Make your own mistakes. Lessons from entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. Our first panelist is Ashok Anand, the founder and CEO of Appiyo Technologies. He is currently pursuing a technology startup which is striving for more meaningful structured communication in social networking among people and organizations. A seasoned IT and management professional with over 22 years of experience, he has expertise in a range of fields including client relationships, people management, and vendor relationships. We also have with us Madhumitha Udaykumar, the co-founder and chief cook at the Indus Valley, a natural cookware company. They are a D2C e-commerce startup funded by the Chennai Angels. They are on a mission to make all Indian kitchens natural and safe. The husband and wife duo started the company in 2016 and have managed to grow rapidly and are on their way to reach 100 crore ARR by 2022. Our third panelist is Snehapriya, an electronics and electrical engineer by background and a teacher and changemaker by passion. Sneha and Pranavan co-founded SP Robotic Works to empower the next generation with the right applied tech skills. SP Robotic Works now boasts over 1 lakh students and 83 dedicated assisted online centers in India. This session will be moderated by PR Ganapathy, the Regional Director of India at Stanford Seed, a program of Stanford GSB that partners with entrepreneurs in emerging economies to transform businesses and impact lives. He is also the co-founder of Mentora Social Impact Fund, co-founder of Hakdarshak, and previously served in leadership roles at Wilgrow. It is my pleasure to invite all of you to TiECON Chennai 2020. This panel is brought to you by NTT Data.
Thank you so much, Yashaswini. As a former entrepreneur myself, somebody who had a failed startup in 2005, 2010, I really believe that every entrepreneur should learn from those who came before them and avoid repeating the mistakes that those previously had made. But this session is really to help us learn from these 3 inspiring young entrepreneurs that we have with us, to hear from their stories, hear from the good things that they did right, and some of the mistakes that they made that they wish they had done differently. So we'll start off maybe just with a round of introductions, and maybe we'll start with the ladies. Madhumitha, if you could just tell us something about yourself and your business. What inspired you to start it? What do you do? Who do you sell to? What traction have you achieved so far? And then we'll go to Sneha after that, and then to Ashok.
Sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Madhumitha. I'm the co-founder of the company, the Indus Valley. We are a D2C e-commerce startup. We believe in radically changing our kitchens at home to more natural and safe options. We sell cookware, and all of our sale is through online, predominantly our website and e-commerce portals like Amazon, Flipkart, amongst others. I've been doing this for nearly over 4.5 years now. My co-founder also happens to be my spouse. His name is Jagdish Kumar. And before I got into this, I used to be a human capital consultant with Deloitte US India. A little bit about my education. I'm an IT engineer by background, followed by which I pursued my management education from KJ Somaiya in Mumbai, which landed me in Deloitte. It was a personal incident of heating up some leftover potatoes in the microwave using a plastic dish that ended me up in the journey of finding the Indus Valley. It was my personal journey looking out for things that resulted me to take this journey. And we've been at this for the past 4.5 years now. And in the sense of traction, we are currently at a 25 crore ARR. We process little over 15,000 orders in a month. We are a 100+ employee company. We've served more than 1 lakh customers. We serve more than 6,000 pin codes, and a lot more exciting journey ahead of us. With that, I'd like to pass it on to the next person.
Wonderful. Sneha, how about you?
Hi everyone. I'm Sneha, co-founder and CEO of SP Robotic Works. So we are a very completely technology startup in the edutech space. So we provide technologies such as robotics, drones, IoT, virtual reality, augmented reality, AI, you name it. So any latest technology, we kind of democratize it. We make it into an easily understandable way, and we provide such courses to people right from the age of 7. So we have two channels of delivery. So one is our online, so people can we design and develop kits for all of these courses. So people can order these kits online and they can learn from their home itself. Or there's an option to go to our centers. So we have about 83 dedicated centers across India where such learning are provided, and people can step into those centers, utilize the lab kits which is present there to learn all of these technologies. So right now we have about 1 lakh students, and during this COVID period alone, we onboarded another 1 lakh students. So that's where we are today, and we are today India's largest network of maker labs as well. So that's something to boast about.
Wonderful. Ashok, over to you. What's your story?
Yeah, hi, hi, Ashok Anand, CEO of Appiyo Technologies. We are in the digital consumer engagement space. What we do is basically fundamentally we change the way consumers interact with the enterprises through the modern day digital channels which are coming along, like WhatsApp or WeChat or any of Intercom or any of those channels. So using today, the go-to channels are these. People want to interact with the enterprises in these channels. Fundamentally, they are saying, bring your business to where I am, than you asking me to come to where you are. So today, enterprises are on their mobile apps and web pages, but the consumer is on the channels, the social media and channels. So we provide technology where these enterprise-related interactions can be easily surfaced on these channels, so that consumers, so it could be banking, or it could be your e-commerce, it could be your any of this, the hospitality, it could be your healthcare. We provide technology which actually brings all these enterprise interactions to the channels. And so we have raised 2 rounds of funding, and we are at a rate of 8 to 9 crores ARR at this point.
Wonderful. That's amazing story. 3 very different companies. So I'm really looking forward to this session because we're going to learn a lot from all 3 of you. So obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic, the sort of thing nobody had anticipated and has seen for the last 100 years, and hopefully we won't see for hundreds of years going forward. But, like dinosaurs, it's only those that evolve and change that survive. So I'd love to hear from you all just to get started. Is what the impact that you saw initially and then later from the pandemic? What did you do to deal with it? And more importantly, looking back, what do you think you should have done differently? And we'll start with Sneha, perhaps.
Sure. So we as I told you before, so we have 83 centers across India. So sadly, this lockdown had to we had to temporarily shut down all our 83 centers. So that was a big blow, and we also had the summertime, so which is the peak of our year. So and it exactly starts at March 20th, and that's when the lockdown started. So to give you an idea, so we had campaigns rolled out from January. We had summer camp campaigns rolled out, and we were in full-fledged, crores and crores of investment gone into it. However, and we got about 23,000 registrations across India. So that's the kind of registrations we had received, and sadly, we had to kind of refund all of those registrations, and we had to focus only on the online segment. So online was always our cup of tea. We had online always. It was one channel of delivery for the past 2 years, since 2 years. So we were glad that we had taken that route long before. So we always had that portion. So that was one big relief that we had during this COVID time. And that shot up quite high. So we had about 600% growth in our online channel. So that was one relief that we had. And we were very happy to support our partners as well. So all of these 83 centers are our franchise partners. And sadly, right now, they're also missing the peak, and they cannot do marketing or anything of that sort in the close by area. So for that, what we did, we kind of completely remodeled for them so that they can survive during this period as well. And that is some huge support we were able to provide, and we're happy about it.
Great, thanks. Madhumitha, you're a little different in that you make a physical product, and global supply chains have been devastated by the pandemic. But of course, you sell online. So what was the impact of the pandemic on you, and what did you do?
Sure. So, with respect to the pandemic impact on the organization, immediately when the lockdown and all of that was announced, we were completely shut down. As most of us know, till mid of May, most of e-commerce companies weren't allowed to operate except for essentials, and we fall under the non-essential category since we did not belong to food or medication or anything of that sort. So we had to stay put till May. But there were some things that we did early on. Since the first week of March itself, since we started hearing more about COVID and its impact, and that possibly it might, impact us very strongly, we started experimenting with work from home for our office employees. We went ahead and purchased all the necessary computer hardware, and we started working from home, implementing the necessary software. So that way, we were actually all of our team was working from home way ahead of the announced lockdown date, just to be safe. That's something which I think we did right and really helped our team to have a more seamless transition rather than that quick 2 day thing that they faced. A lot of our folks even went back to their hometown, so they had that luxury. So they were safe at home when all of this started. Another thing that we did right is we gave complete off for our operations team, but everything else was working. Our digital marketing, customer care, everything was working. So it gave us basically 45 days to 60 days to stay put and work. That's something that is of a dream for an organization, because generally you're fighting to, for your today's battles and never preparing for tomorrow's wars. So we had that opportunity to prepare for that, really big war ahead. We were always optimistic about it, and we felt that it's going to eventually open. We do not know if it's a matter of a week or a matter of a couple of months, but we were always preparing for it. And we were very conscious of the fact that we shouldn't be firing everybody, and rather anybody. So we kept everyone on our payroll and we paid everyone promptly. There were some minor pay cuts, but that's something that the team came up together and they all signed up for it so that we can retain everyone on the payroll, including our operations team who did not work for that prolonged period. But once we restarted, the momentum was great. Even in mid of May, when we were allowed to restart, the momentum was great. The problem was when we had to lock down again, specifically for the Chennai-based lockdown, which lasted for nearly 3 weeks. Unfortunately, e-commerce is not a business which you can turn on and turn off a button. Most businesses aren't. Specifically, e-commerce is not. It's a game of momentum. Once momentum is gathered and you break it, you'd have to really work hard to get there again. So we had to do it again the second time. But phenomenally, in August, we did a sale that is more than 3 times of our regular sale. And that with such minimal support, we had a lot of issues, specifically in logistics and from our vendors. Because our vendors do use a lot of labor who are from other states, and they do rely on global supply chain for a lot of raw materials. So we did have to find hacks and solutions, and we had to really support our vendors both financially and through processes to help them endure this. We're still continuing to do that, but we see this as an opportunity because people are at home, they're cooking, and they're really conscious about their health, and that's where we perfectly fit in. We're seeing it as an opportunity to help people become healthier and cook better at home.
Great, thank you so much. Ashok, over to you. I'm going to hazard a guess that you saw a significant spike in business as customers, moved to dealing with their institutions online. What was the impact of the pandemic for you?
Sure. We were not designed for the pandemic and we were not ready for it. But it was a pleasant surprise for us. Fundamentally, we saw our business grow 3 times during this last 4 months because all our customers and the new customers we onboarded wanted to do things digitally. They wanted to engage with customers on these social channels. That's where people were on in this pandemic period. And we lost efficiency. It was very difficult for us to coordinate with our employees, get the work allocated. We are in the IT business. It was a big challenge for us. Our efficiency went down to 70 to 80% because of all these coordination issues. We have used all the group chats, video chats, and every technology that was possible. But there was this it was a problem for us. But we slowly recovered from 70% efficiency. We have come up to 80% efficiency. But during this time, people were able to spend more time because they were saving on travel. So that kind of compensated for the loss in efficiency for us. We doubled our headcount in this pandemic period. We were around 50, 55 member organization. Now we are 100 plus. Every customer of ours has grown. In every customer account of ours has grown, and a lot of new accounts. We got also the biggest surprise for us is we got international orders in this last quarter. We are around 6 large international orders in the Middle East and the US in the last quarter, and we worked through our partners. That is a slight adjustment we made. We moved away from direct selling and we started working through our partners, and we have appointed partners in all these geographies, and that is paying out dividend. Our prediction is this change, the behavioral change which has come about in the last 4 months, it is going to continue, which is business trying to do business with touchless and contactless business. And that culture or that behavior is going to stay because they know that now they can do business the other way without having an physical office space, without people having to walk in. So that is going to continue, and we feel that going forward, our technology and offering will help us go faster.
Lovely, thanks. And let's just stay with you on that topic. There are a lot of Chennai startups that are building products for the world and therefore having to sell to and convert global customers, sometimes for fairly complex products. What are some of the strategies that you've employed, particularly during the time of this pandemic where your sales team hasn't been able to physically travel to customers, to be able to engage them, convince them to sign the contract and actually gets projects started? Because I'm hearing a lot of companies are having virtual conversations, but they're somehow not able to close the sale. You seem to be able to close the sale and move on. What are some lessons that you might have from that for some of the other Chennai startups that are in the same sort of situation?
Sure. The first thing is you have to be cloud ready, and you have to opt in all the cloud technologies which are available. Today we have, and today the world is running on the cloud. So we were cloud ready, and that is something we did right before even the pandemic. So doing customer demos and reaching out and to customers was easier. And second, we work on these channels, and channels by themselves are, they are geography neutral, right? Anybody anywhere in the world can access this channel, and that became easier for us to sell this. And there was this demand. Everybody wanted. Today we are not able to meet demand because everybody wants to be on a certain channel. I'm not naming channels here, but everybody wants to be on a channel because that is the way to go, and that is where the demand is. And so that kind of pushed us into these orders. And actually, customer demand is pretty high. Everybody wants everything tomorrow, and we are not able to cater to it. So that is a problem we are having. Too much of good is also not good. So we have customers screaming at us. So all of these problems we are contending with.
When we spoke earlier, Ashok, you were discussing the fact that your business grew significantly. So I presume you had to rapidly hire to fill positions and do that in an environment where you were not able to interview people in person or onboard them. How did you deal with some of those growth challenges? Sometimes flexibility in an organization needs to cut both ways, which is you don't only need to be able to handle a cut back in demand, but also sometimes an explosion in demand. What are some things that you dealt with or did during this time of rapid growth that you saw?
Yes. So fundamentally, we said to meet this demand and enhance the customer satisfaction, we will be 20% resource. We'll have 20% resources on the bench, which means at 55, we said we will have 70. We'll always have 20 plus resources. And it so happens we kept on recruiting, and we still continue to be minus 20 because business came in as we recruited. So we are using all the latest video conferencing and all these techniques to interview people and bring them on board. And we ship them laptops if required, and they are able to connect through laptops. And we have people working all over the country, Jharkhand, Assam, you can name the state. we have employees working for us. But that has made life easier for us. So we don't have to look for employees within with Chennai or Tamil Nadu, because now it doesn't matter. Even the person in Chennai is sitting in Jharkhand. It is the same to us. And that kind of helped us. So we could go and recruit people. And there is this sad thing which has happened in the market. People are available. If COVID hadn't happened, we wouldn't have doubled our headcount. We couldn't have doubled our headcount. In a way, it kind of helped us, whereas it might not have others. But on the flip side, we are still minus 20 employees, and we are still catching up and contending to meet demand in the market.
Okay, great. I'm going to come back to you on a question which I'd love for you to think about, which is when you've hired employees virtually and they're working virtually, how do you build and maintain culture in that? But I'll hold that question and move to Sneha. Sneha, you're in the edtech space, very exciting. Particularly, you're doing really high-tech stuff, so I'm sure there's a lot of demand for that. And everybody in a startup world wants to scale, but they want to scale in an asset-light, partner-based model, and that's what you've done. You've done it through partners. And what are some of the challenges, lessons, advantages that you've seen, and some best practices or secrets that you might want to share with our audience on how to build an effective partner network?
Sure. So we decided to go the partner route back in 2018. So when we wanted to kind of push the kind of people that we are influencing and the impact that we were creating with students, when we wanted to push the numbers up, scale always needed to address all types of customers. So when we take our product, it is typically a product where you need a computer or a laptop to kind of learn the coding and all of these technologies. So in India, sadly, I know it's changing right now with COVID, but in India, typically the number of people who have laptop or computers at home is very, very less. And especially in a family, it's more or less the official laptops that the parents have, that they cannot share it with the child. So when that came up, so that's where our assisted online centers, we call it maker labs, that we have set up across India, was highly useful. But we wanted to take the route of the partner route, where asset light is one of the reasons why we wanted to take that route. But another important reason is we wanted personal care to be given to each and every customer who stepped in for our brand. So when you say personal care, an entrepreneur who's sitting there, you can never match the personal care they give than a manager who I put at that particular place. And the manager is always had to be, there will be a churn in the number of managers that we're going to put, and that is going to affect the customer experience as well. So that was one of the main reasons why we took up the partner route, where today, if you see, all of our 83 centers have such good customer ratings across, and that's mainly because of this particular route. The challenge as such is, yes, finding the right customer is one challenge. Apart from that, maintaining that vision in place is another important challenge. Because as you rightly said, working off from your office is how our partners are today. So we being here with all of us together and as a team, when we are working here, the vision keeps staying intact and we keep running. But they are like entrepreneurs at different locations, and they're stranded entrepreneurs. That's how I call it. So when it is that kind of a situation, motivation and the drive that we are having at the head office should be transferred at every single moment to the partner. So that is something that we learned along the journey. That I think we kind of started bringing through the contest, regular meetings that we used to have, and more than that, we kind of had award functions and all of that happening at a regular basis. And the customer reviews that people give, so we started featuring that and showcasing how our partners are influencing their localities, how they're supporting on the vision. So those kind of interactive involvement with the partners, that kind of held the vision intact. So that is something that was really a good learning to have along the journey.
Great, super, thanks. That's really makes a lot of sense. Madhumitha, to you, as I'd mentioned earlier, you're a little different in that you make a physical product, and you chose to have a domestic supply chain, and that must have been a huge benefit during these times. But what was the thinking behind that decision? What are some of the benefits and sometimes some of the challenges that you faced in building a domestic supply chain? And what advice would you have to entrepreneurs who are listening to us today who have physical products or are building physical products?
Sure. So all of our sourcing happens within India. It has been so for the past 4.5 years. I do not know where the future will take us because we believe to put our customers first always. So any decisions that we take is for the benefit of the customer. Specifically, why we started sourcing from India is because our emphasis is on product design and being first to market. When you're in the cookware industry, nothing is proprietary. So if you've decided to make a dosa tawa in a particular way, someone could just come ahead and make it. But thanks to our methods, so what we do in our company is that we treat building cookware like versions of software. So whenever I'm going to make a tawa, we factor in at least 2,000 reviews and 2,000 very gravely, painfully written reviews by very angry customers, both from our organization and outside. And then we quickly run some tools on it to analyze what were some key pain points for them. And we try to fix them. We know we can't get it right in the first round, so we go around iterating to make it better. So each version being better than the previous, and we do this once every few months. In order to do this, it would be really difficult having a global supply chain because we'd have to make these tweaks and we'll have to ensure that we produce these in smaller batches so we can try them out. So we believe in making our products better. For that, our vendors needed to be closer to where the market is. And another reason, this is a very strategy level reason. A very practical level reason is that it helps us improve our inventory turn. Our credit cycles are phenomenally better. Most companies, some of our competitors who do procure from countries like China, predominantly China and other Southeast Asian countries, have to pay quite a bit of a hefty, initial cost in order to do that. Maybe at their scale it makes sense, but that's something that did not suit us at that point in time. For our overall financial health and operational health also, it made sense. Specific to COVID, what it did is that it made us almost immune to what was happening. Till date, most electronics brands that were popularly preferred pre-COVID are completely out of stock. I'm not going to pick names, but if you want to buy certain brands of television or phones right now, it's completely out of stock across the city and pan-India. The reason being a lot of issues with imports and general consumer sentiment is indicative of that. So that way it made us really strong. As I mentioned, we kept working through the lockdown from home. So we asked our vendors when the government permitted to immediately open and start manufacturing for us. In fact, a lot of them had pre-made things for us and shipped it as soon as it was allowed by the government. That way we were ready in this challenge that we had in our hands.
Wow, that's really fascinating. I have never thought of hardware the way you've thought about it. It's quite a mind-blowing thought. Thank you so much for sharing. So, moving on, I'd just love to ask all three of you, how do you think the future of work has changed, particularly in your organizations and in general? What are the long-term effects we're going to see of this extended period of working virtually that we're all experiencing? And any one of you can start.
Okay, I will go. It works differently at different levels. At the senior level, I think productivity is much high. I've also been speaking to my contacts in the US and other geographies. There, they have said productivity has improved a lot. As against then the mid tier and the developers and the bottom tier. We feel that productivity is a challenge because they are not able to hold their own. They need support and handholding. So at different tiers, it is different. At the senior level, definitely productivity is increased. At the mid tier, maybe iffy here and there. And definitely at the junior level, it is it is on the lower side. And what happens is they also suck into the time of the mid-tier and senior tier people, because they need that support, which could have been given in a few minutes time on a floor, whereas in the COVID situation, it is kind of inefficient at this point. So it's a mixed bag here with respect to COVID and efficiency.
I think I'll go next. With respect to the whole forced work from home, and I think that's the way it happened. We were all forced to work from home. We just didn't have a choice. So there were a lot of things that came into play. We have to be really cognizant of the fact that it wasn't a choice. So then the fact of mental health comes into play, because a lot of us, for the first time in our lives, were forced to stay 24/7 with our family members. How much ever we may love them, how much ever we care for them, it's quite hard, especially for young parents. Most of our employees are in the stage where they're just married, or young parents, typically 35 and under. So it was a lot of work with the schools being shut down. They had to engage their children, very young children, you had to help them understand. So all of this took a very big toll on the mental health of employees, and we were very cognizant of this, and we gave leeway. In addition to all of this home level burdens, we did have a couple of employees who had COVID themselves and had to isolate themselves and their family. So that is a very traumatic experience, because especially for a couple of employees who had it in the early on stages, we were very ill-informed and we didn't know what to do. So the general lack of knowledge was something that created a lot of issue. But we were there, we ensured that they got some medical support, and we tried our best to ensure that they were safe. The other aspect of this that I see, which even Mr. Anand had mentioned, is he mentioned that how people in the higher up rung did better, and people who are earlier in their career had a little bit of trouble. I think it has to do a little bit with the economics of things. Most Indian homes are 1 RKs, where basically there's just one room and one kitchen. That is the reality of India, especially the reality of urban India, where we are really scarce for space. Even our young gentlemen and women who are making 30,000-40,000 a month tend to stay in small 1 RK and choose to save on the rent. And that would have made it really hard for them to work. Maybe someone who's more senior had the luxury of living in a larger home and had that space for himself or herself. Also, the impact on women has been unfair. There's a lot of gender bias in our society, with complete lack of home support, in the sense of it could be someone who is a hired help at home, or it could be family members who are supporting you in childcare or home care. So that brought in a lot of burden on our female employees. So I think it was a very enlightening moment, and we asked them to have conversation with their spouses and family members, to involve them in daily activities. Hopefully this is something that we think will change, because gender roles need to be neutralized and we need to share our burdens. In the future, I do see a more hybrid work culture, where people would choose to drop into office 2 to 3 days a week on important meeting days, and rest they would choose to work from home. I think that would be healthy both for their personal life and for their professional life.
See, I think once the schools have resumed, I think most of the troubles of work from home, I think would start disappearing. So it's more of there's a lot of load, because we recently did a survey with about 3,200 parents of to understand how the kids are being affected because of such a COVID scenario. So that survey gave us a lot of insights into how the families are feeling and how the kids are feeling and all of that. We could see that it's becoming very difficult for parents to handle the online classes of the child. So when the child is having the laptop and sitting with it, or phone and sitting with it, suddenly the internet is going off, the child doesn't know what to do. So the parent is forced to come out of the work that they're doing right now, and they're forced to go and help the child. So I'm sure across all corporates, everybody is supportive of it right now, but yes, it is affecting the efficiency big time. So I think once schools are resumed, we'll have, even if it's work from home, we'll have efficiency much better than what it is today. But we as a company, we've started completely working from office. So most of our employees are back to office. We were all very happy. We could finally see each other's face in real. So that way we have kind of resumed. But yes, schools opening will be a big breather for everybody.
Super. So I guess we're out of time. We would love to have continue this conversation, but unfortunately we're at the 35 minutes that we have. So I just want to thank all three of you for taking the time to share, candidly and openly your experiences, your mistakes, some of the lessons that you've learned with everybody. We'll do a quick round of, closing thoughts. Any tips for entrepreneurs? 30 seconds. I'll start with Anand and then we'll go to Sneha and then Madhumitha to wrap up.
For startups, have a plan, and I would say in 30 seconds is stick to your plan and don't second guess yourself. And it will happen. If you had your vision right in the first place, it will happen. There are lots of ups and downs in the business. If you think you're right, go ahead with it. That's my advice.
My advice would be use it as an opportunity. See how you can change the situation today as an opportunity for growth and opportunity to penetrate. Small adaptations on whatever product it is, small adaptations should be more than sufficient to push and achieve your visions. So keep an eye open for opportunities.
I would just say two things: be more persistent and persevere. This is just a tough time. It will pass too. It is companies that survived the Great Recession and companies that survived the recession in the past decade that are here today, tall and strong. So it's up to us to be one of those companies.
Awesome. So have a plan, be flexible, and be persistent. Thank you so much. And back to you, Yashasvi.
Thank you all so much for such a multifaceted conversation, bringing alive your collective experience across such diverse industries. It was a pleasure having you with us.